center with overhead. Ooh. Well, that doesn't look like I did the right thing. So, I don't know if you can see me. I have no idea if Facebook is working, but I'm going to try this one more time to fix my camera settings. Well, I have it on the right settings, so let's try that again. This is what happens when you go live after you've been away and everything looks a little wonky. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and move my cord out of the way. Usually I have all this set up long before I go live. Oh, and I'm missing a light. Hold on. Hold please, as Melissa would say. This might help brighten the situation a little bit. All right, a little harsh, but better than no light at all, right? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch this over. Again, I have no idea if I am live on Facebook or not, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you are catching me on YouTube. And that's it. This is going to be a really wonky video today. So I have 3 fun cards for you today featuring the Lifetime of Love stamp set. Oh, and now I'm even sideways. Oh my goodness. Well, that doesn't usually happen. There we go. Okay. Lord have mercy. I feel like I should start this over again, but no. We're just going to make life happen, okay? So I'm going to move this up a little higher. I don't know. My world has crashed down today. What is going on? All right, so Lifetime of Love right here. Beautiful, beautiful. It does have a die set that goes with it. I have only used the dies on one of the cards today. We will do a little bit of heat embossing, and we will go from there. So we're going to work on this card today. I'm going to show you a couple of the papers that are in this card. This is the Forever Love specialty paper. These will all be listed in the description as soon as I am done. This looks orange, but it's actually gold. So I didn't make one of my fancy boards for this, but again, double-sided paper. I'll show you some of the larger pieces here. Really like this. And here's the reverse of that. We've got this one, and here's the reverse. So you can see we have one side that's a little more soft and subtle, and one that has lots of shine and gold shimmer. We have this right here. Okay. So today's class is going to be slightly different. Usually I send you projects for 4 cards, all the materials for 4 cards. But this time I'm going to send you a quarter of a pack of this beautiful paper. So you will get 4 card bases, 4 envelopes, and a quarter pack of this gorgeous paper. I will adjust the information so that you know exactly what you're getting. Again, this is this beautiful Forever Love designer series paper. I'm just going to slide that over. And we're going to go ahead and create the saying for this one. I had not done this part yet, so I have a whole nother one. So we're going to decide which saying we want, because we have congratulations on your wedding day, which I did use on one of our other cards. wishing you a lifetime of happiness and forever and always. So I think what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to do wishing you a lifetime of happiness, and then I'm going to add in some of the flowers on one side. So we're going to kind of do this. All right, so the two colors that I'm using this evening are Petal Pink and Pretty Peacock. So I'm definitely going to do the sentiment in the Pretty Peacock. And that is the color of the card base for this one. I might change it around for the second card, so we'll see. All right, so I am simply stamping this here, on this to the right, on this very vanilla piece. And then I'm going to add this like spray of flowers to the right hand side here. And now I have to decide if I want to do that in the pink. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it in the pink. And I might add in a tiny bit of green on the leaves. All right, this pad is not as juicy as I would like, so let's hope that works out. Okay, so there is the side. And I'm gonna grab one of my Stampin' Blends. I'm gonna use the light lemon lime twist. I'm just gonna add a little bit of green to these leaves. Just like that. And then I'm going to add a tiny bit of color to these roses, just a little extra color where there might be some shadows. Nothing too fancy. Just a little. A little bit goes a long way, just like some makeup, right? I always tell Kaylee, a little bit goes a long way. All right, so here is our sentiment for this one. Grab some Stampin' Seal. Now, because this is a fun fold, when I put this on, I'm going to make sure it's on one side so it will still open. Now, on the inside here, should have an extra one of these. So this is going to go on the inside. I'm going to center this. This is where you can write your message to the happy couple. And I want to center this, and this is going to be a key element for adding the top piece. Okay, so I'm closing this like this, but I'm not, I want to make sure that when this goes on here, that it covers this up under here. So I will add some dimensionals directly to this flap. And I can line this up and kind of see where I need to put this. I do have some leftover pieces, so I'm just going to use those. And then pull those backings off. add this, and I am gonna pull this and center it as well, even though it hangs over on this left side just a little bit. And as long as you don't push it down too hard the first time, you can lift it and recenter it so you get it exactly where you want. So that is the first card. So let's start that back from the beginning so you can see all the parts of how this goes together. Okay. I am, oh, here it is. Missing a piece. There we go. All right, so this card is a 4 1/4 by 11 card base, scored at 5.5, and I like to score for this offset one at 2 1/4. So my inside piece here is going to be 2 inches by 4 inches. That's going to give me a little bit of a border all the way around it. And it's easier to do this with it open. And just kind of center that in there. Again, don't push it down super hard in the beginning in case you have to twist or adjust. Okay. Then we've got both sides of this beautiful paper, and I wanted this to be the back here. So I will put the adhesive on this side. And I'll go ahead and adhere this here. Again, I'm centering this. Okay. There's nothing on this side here because it folds over, but we do see this inside. Oh, you know, well, I did that backwards than I did on the other one, but it's all good. So I'll put this pink piece in here. It'll give a little extra spot to sign for anyone who is in a group that needs to sign a message to a bride and groom, or 2 brides or 2 grooms. However you want to celebrate those who are getting married. So this inside piece is a 4 by 5 1/4. This is going to be the backdrop to the signing piece on the inside. Okay. And then we have our framing piece to sign on the inside. This is going to have a nice framed out area around it. Just adding plenty of adhesive there. Again, we center this piece in here. And now we can be a little creative on this inside piece. We can do something a little different. So I believe the Forever and Always is the one I have not used yet. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that one and center it. And we're going to add some flowers around it. Okay, so this will be Forever and Always. Okay. And then I'm going to close that up. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use these magnolia stamps. And I'm going to do those in the petal pink around probably most of this here on the bottom left and maybe the top right. I'm going to hold off on that one because I want to put this whole magnolia in the top right. Okay, so now I can add this one around there. Oh, you can't even see. I'll have to pull this. There we go. Maybe that'll work a little better. If my head gets in the way, I apologize. does stamp off just a little bit. You can use a scratch piece of paper to protect your surface. I think I'm going to leave it just like that because we're going to add a little bit of gems to this. So let's go ahead and add this layer. We will center it on here. Remember, don't push down super hard so that you can reposition if you need to. There we go. Okay, now I can push on that. All right, so again, I'm going to add some dimensionals. I'm lining that up here. And because I did it that way, I'm going to add a centerpiece there. Just to make sure this is adhered nice and firmly. And again, I will center this. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to add some gems to both of these so you can see those. All right. We have some beautiful gems with these two colors. And as long as they're available, when you spend $50, this will be your free embellishment. It's Petal Pink and Pretty Peacock foiled gems. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Pretty Peacock on these particular cards here. They're so pretty. And I really like that background color. There we go. Sometimes you actually have to twist the putty so that you have putty coming out. All right, so there's our first one. And let's do this one. Okay, so there we have both of those ready to go. I really enjoy having some wedding cards, anniversary cards. These things are handy to just keep on in a container somewhere so that when you have an occasion, you do not have to stop at the store in your fancy dress on your way to the wedding or anniversary party. So those are ready to go. They get to stay in my stash. And again, super easy to take care of. All right, so let's look at card number 2. If you are watching this on the replay, please let me know. So here's card number 2 without our embellishments so far. And we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to start on the inside with our stamping. And I'm going to do just a little bit of a subtle look on the inside here. So I am taking that floral spray that we used a moment ago, and I'm just going to add this to the bottom of this card. And that's going to be on the inside of our card. So we can go ahead and put this one away, and we can get this piece adhered inside the card. Since we're using a dark cardstock, we want to be able to have a place to write where the receiver can see it. So I'm using Very Vanilla today, and this is one of those gorgeous double-sided DSPs that's going to do all the work for this super simple card here. Okay. So little adhesive, I'm going to center this on my card base. I have a piece that goes the width of our card base here, and it is 1 inch thick. I'm going to use our Love You stamp and that pretty peacock color, and I'm just simply going to put Love You on the right hand side of this, just like that. And now this is going to go across the entire section of the front of our card. Might want to use a little extra adhesive here. And I put mine towards the bottom. Our flowers are a little top heavy for the next one. So I'm going to move it up just a tiny bit because we might have less stem area there. So I think that's going to be really good. So here's our fussy cutting for the night. Again, I said we were letting the paper do all the work. So I just fussy cut around the gold foil embossing on this just yummy, yummy paper. I mean, there's just not enough million-dollar words to describe this paper that are in my lexicon at the moment. So right now it's yummy, gorgeous, and beautiful. So I'm simply leaving just a tiny little edge of the Moody Mauve around that gold embossing. And then we will line this up on the paper, and then we will add a little bit of those petal pink gems to this card. Again, playing off of the two primary colors in this pack, although we have Moody Mauve going on. It'll offer a little extra interest to the card. Now I like to turn the paper a lot more than I turn my scissors. So that is what that looks like. You can see there's not a huge long length of a stem there, so the bulk of this is going to go up here. So I am going to add dimensionals to this. I'm going to start down here near the stem so that it's well supported. And then we'll just add some more dimensionals to the outside, and I'm going to put a little through the middle. There we go. And then we're going to tuck this right here. And that is our super simple card. You can see that I used 2 different floral sprays in there. So let's show a different inside that you can do. I'm going to grab the pretty peacock, and I'm just going to do a little leaf spray on the inside for that one. Again, it doesn't take a lot to make a beautiful card to send to somebody. I know I absolutely love when I get beautiful cards in the mail, especially when they're handmade. I know somebody took time to create and then to think about me to send a card. So if you would like a card, you just have to let me know, because I love sending cards. So if you've ever shopped with me you've most likely received a thank you card, because I do like to send those once a month as well. So, all right, let's get those embellishments on there. That little pop of color with the gold. Sometimes I do not push hard enough on this, and so it looks kind of wonky. Okay. So. Well, Donna, if you were going to try to watch me today, it's not happening. You'd have to be on YouTube instead of on Facebook. All right. So that is our second card. Now I have a wow card for you. The third card tonight is a card that uses the die cuts. So let me grab that for you. And I have done a little bit of this ahead of time so that you could see the fun part of this. Okay, so this is my wow card. It has some embossing on here. We've got this little sliver of designer series paper that pokes through. Here's our embossed layer that I went ahead and did ahead of time. We've got an oval punch that we're going to add some sentiment to, and then we've got the fun stuff. Okay, so there's our card base. So we have this beautiful delicate die cut, and then I did some die cut flowers, and this is the exposed brick 3D embossing folder. Let me just see if you can see the texture in that. It is one of my favorites, so I pulled it out. I hope it's one of your favorites too. Get these out of my way here. All right, so some of this is super simple, but I wanted to show you that you can turn this cutout into this copper metallic cutout. So let's go ahead and get some of these pieces out of the way. So I did emboss these magnolias with copper embossing powder, and there's 3 of those cut out. Let's see, this is what the dies look like. So this is the one we're going to turn into a copper foil die, because we don't currently have copper foil. I don't think. I could not find an active copper foil. So I know we have holographic and we have the distressed gold. So I decided I wasn't going to spend an enormous amount of time finding copper paper, which I'm sure I have some somewhere. So I just used embossing powder. It just made a lot of sense to go ahead and emboss with the embossing powder, since I had already used it for those beautiful magnolias. So I am simply putting this in. This is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we have 5 3/8 this way by 4 3/8 this way. Maybe that's not right. 4 1/8. 4 1/8, because this is 4 by 5 1/4. This background piece is 1/8 bigger than this piece. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. All right, so let's go ahead and let me show you how to create this piece. So I did use my fantastic silicone mat here. This is going to require a little bit of Versamark, and I'm also using our tool tray for embossing. We're going to need that in just a moment for the powder component, and then our little tweezers for that as well. So I just took our Versamark pad and I pounced it directly on top. I do realize I'm probably wasting just a tiny bit of ink here, but it's worth it. It's an extravagant wedding card. Excuse me. So now that this is kind of wet, I used my tweezers in a spot where I covered up later. So I'm going to put my tweezers right here where I'm just taking a tiny little snippet out of that. And then I put this right here inside this tray. And then I sprinkled it with all this copper powder. Now this tray is very important so that you can get as much of this copper powder back into this container, to this little clear container as possible. So I do kind of shake this around a little bit. All right. And yes, I am going to try to push some of that down in here just to make sure I have as much powder on there as possible. Tap that off. I'm going to move this out of the way and I'll put that back in the container in just a little bit. And I'm going to take my silicone pad and I'm also moving that out of the way so I can get the embossing part done. So I'm leaving this attached. I am turning my heat tool on for just a moment to let it get nice and hot so that it will emboss and turn nice and shiny copper. So I'm hoping that this will work beautifully. All right. And there she goes. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but it is just turning glossy and shiny. If you do not already have embossing powders, there are not any available on our website at the moment. So you could use a shimmery paper. I could have left this plain and put a darker paper behind it. But many of you already have plenty of embossing powders. So I know you can do this with what you have. So take a look at that. It just shines so brilliantly. And even though there's a tiny little speck undone right there, it's going to be covered by one of these flowers. So I'm not worried about it. Now, I do have a little trick. I keep this wonderful handy dandy microfiber cloth right under here so that I can clean off any straggling powder. All right, so I'm not putting this away yet because we need this. So I'm going to clip it right back where I had it before. And I'm turning it over. Now I can do a couple of things, but I found that this fine tip glue pen really works the best. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And I'll show you a trick for kind of getting this lid back on. It is not the easiest thing with aging eyes, but it still works. So I am putting a little drop of this liquid glue everywhere I possibly can where it's thicker. I try to get a little bit extra, but then the rest of it is just like a line of glue. And we're going to actually add a little extra support to this with our dimensionals. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this down right where I want it. And I'm going to hold it down for just a moment so that some of this adhesive can stick. Again, we're going to have this stuck right here, as well as all the places where that those flowers are adhered. Let me see, I have a little bit of dried glue on here. Let me see if I can add a tiny little extra bit right here. My glue has all of a sudden stopped. Okay, so here's what you do. I like to hold it right against my finger, and then I'm going to try to match them up against my finger. And of course, it's not going to work because I'm on camera, but there we go. So I just did that so I can make sure I have a little extra glue to drip onto here. Make sure I can get that down in there. And this is why my friend uses the other kind, but it works. It still works. All right, so I'm going to hold that for just a second in place. Okay, that's good to go. So now I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of my 3 flowers. And I did 2 on the bottom and 1 on the top. And I turned it away. So you can see I've now covered up that little spot from earlier. So I'm actually going to do this one. And I just kind of slid this until I felt the that dimensional on the back. You don't want it to overlap. And then I just covered up this one right here. But I think I'm still going to cover it. That's how I like it. All right, so those little pieces are also going to add a little extra adhesive to hold that little frame on. And now we're going to stamp on here and then 1 extra layer of adhesive there. So let's go ahead and do the congratulations on your wedding day. And now I'll grab some more dimensionals. So one of the tricks is to go ahead and put 1 dimensional or 2 right where you're going to add your sentiment. Okay, so then I'm just going to add a piece to each end here. And slide this right on here. And I did use a different set of embellishments here. These are the brushed metallic adhesive back dots. And I really thought that the rose gold kind of looked really well with the copper. So I went ahead and did those beautiful elements there. All right, so that is the 3rd and final card. So remember that you're going to get a 1/4 pack of the beautiful paper. You will also get the die cuts, everything for the cards, but you're going to get an extra base so you have some paper to play with. And that is our class for the night. I'm going to update the description. I'm going to share this on Facebook because it doesn't look like it made it to Facebook today, please, please let me know if you're watching. Let me know if one of these cards is something you would give to somebody who's getting married. Maybe tell me your favorite. That would be helpful. And that's about it. I will see you all next week. I've forgotten already what the balloons, the hot air balloons next week. So I hope to see you. Bye.